Welcome, dear listener. My name is Zach Armstrong. I'm the founder at Rooster High Productions and Rooster High Radio. What you're listening to, what you have found, is the podcast and content marketing arm of that company. And today we are talking about how when you use a podcast as a content marketing instrument, it's not about the downloads. It's about the leverage on your time. So make sure to hit that follow button if you haven't already, if you want to hear more content like this on a regular basis. So your business podcast isn't about the downloads. If you're using a business podcast as a way to capture content like we've talked about in previous episodes, especially episode 2, then it's really not about the downloads. There are a number of strategic ways you can leverage this medium, and downloads really aren't as important. Now, of course, when many people think of podcasts, they think of large talk show podcasts, especially where somebody famous has decided to get a microphone and studio set up and they sit there chatting with their friends or other comedians or professionals, right, talking through any topics they want to, and that becomes their business. They sell merch, they get views on YouTube, right? But that's not your kind of podcast. Now, if it is and you're listening to Rooster High Radio, I applaud you, but that's not how we're talking about using podcasts, right? There can also be podcasts where, it is a normal person who gets famous through the podcast because they produce something lovely, an amazing narrative, whether a fiction narrative or a real world narrative. It's a story that hasn't been told before and they do it well. That totally works too, but that's in the same category where the podcast is the business. And downloads do matter for that. That's the primary way of measuring, how many people are listening or how often people are listening. Now, with a podcast for a business, a podcast that is serving as Richard Matthews of Push Button Podcast calls it, a strategic influence podcast, when you're using it to fuel your podcast-powered content marketing, that is when you don't worry about downloads. Do not worry about them at all. If they're going up, hey, that is great. That is good, right? More people are listening to you. There's a couple of strategic ways that you're going to be using a podcast for a business that aren't really concerned with the downloads. It's because number one is your content marketing superpower. You have a transcript that lives on your website that is a valuable SEO boost and a great accessibility feature. Also, you can get a meeting with almost whoever you want by just saying, hey, do you want to come be a guest on my podcast? I would love to talk with you about this topic. It's much better than trying to pitch them in a roundabout way or just saying, hey, I want to meet you. If you invite them onto the podcast, it's an easy ask. It honors them. You can promote the heck out of the podcast. And guess what? You've just kicked off an important new business relationship using your podcast. You can also bring on clients and other people you have business relationships with to give them an amazing experience, to honor them, to say, oh, wow, what you do is so great. Let's talk about it. Can I ask you some questions about it on the microphone so we can tell people about this amazing thing you do or this amazing person that you are? So instead of having a podcast where you're selling the t-shirts, you're doing the live shows, right? You have a Patreon, none of that you're worried about for your business podcast. Right? Your business podcast is something that you're going to use strategically to increase the bottom line of your business, to make relationships that are great for the business, to contact new clients, to get your content marketing out there in a way that is both efficient and high quality, like we've talked about in previous episodes. Because when you have a content podcast, you can chop it up in 1,000 ways. We walked through this process on a previous episode here on Rooster High Radio of how to maximize your content leverage in both minimizing your time and maximizing the quality and consistency of that content. And with podcasts, there's a lot of superpowers packed in here in ways that really matter. With a podcast, you can relatively easily, with the right processes and the right tools, get a good quality transcript that captures everything you say and it lives attached to the episode, which is going to be integrated into your website. And when you have that transcript up, not only, like we mentioned, is it a great accessibility tool, is it a good SEO boost with all of your relevant words that you've said that are now living in there, right? As the search engines look through your site, it's also an easy place to turn it into a blog post or start to pull quotes. You can send that off to your social media coordinator or a VA if you have one and say, okay, take this and craft it for these other mediums. You've already done the work. The work is already you. It's in your voice. It sounds great. And now you can craft it into 5 other things. So don't silo that content. And the transcript is one. The transcript has so many superpowers associated with it if you know how to use it. And when you have a podcast for your business and you're not going to sell t-shirts, you're not doing Patreon, right? You're not going out and doing live shows. But what you are doing is chopping it up so that you have clips for social media. You put these clips up onto social media, and somebody who goes looking for your business or comes across it if the algorithm brings it up will get to see you and know who you are. Whether you lead your business and you have employees, maybe you get your employees in front of the camera too, or you're the main face of your business. Maybe you're a realtor or you're an accountant of some kind at like a small firm, or you operate freelance. You can leverage everything you've already put together by chopping it up into clips, putting it up on social media, and now you're doing that relationship building passively. Once you've already done it once, they've talked about passive income. How about passive parasocial relationship building, right? By putting this kind of stuff out there that is all about you. It shows really who you are in your business and puts the spotlight on that so people can look at you and decide, wow, yeah, I do like this person. I like their expertise. I like their credentials. I like how they talk about things. I know we're going to be a fit. Now I want to work with them. That is just one thing you're grabbing from a podcast instead of the downloads, right? Instead of the downloads. And lastly, of course, you can leverage these guest slots. Like we mentioned a few minutes ago, you can use it to get a meeting with almost whoever you want to. You can use it. It is the best way to shoot your shot with somebody. I did this with a podcast I had a few years back. That particular podcast was a hobby podcast at the time, even though I was basically running it like a business. And it was a podcast for a trading card game. Now, if you've been nerdy and been around, at least you had some discretionary spending in the 90s or later, you may have heard of a trading card game called Magic the Gathering. It launched in 1993, was designed by a man named Richard Garfield. And if you haven't heard of any of this and it's sounding awfully nerdy and a little bit cringe, don't worry, you've probably heard of Hasbro, the toy giant conglomerate, and it's a parent company for a number of companies, right? So you've definitely heard of Hasbro. Magic the Gathering, this trading card game, is 18% of Hasbro's annual revenue. This is a big deal. The man who created it is doing very well, and in nerd circles, he's an A-lister. I had a nerdy podcast about another card game that Richard Garfield designed. I looked at my co-host and I said, we should just go for it. We should ask Richard Garfield to be on our little card game podcast. So we did some research, figured out how to get in touch. We reached out, and guess what? We got a yes. And I got to talk to the father of modern card games for an hour about one of the games that he designed that was very close to his heart. It was a lovely experience, a fantastic episode, by far the most downloaded episode for that podcast. It was an absolutely lovely time and a huge win for that little podcast. So remember, if you're using a podcast for business purposes, right, if you're going to be wielding it for all of its superpowers, remember that you don't need to worry too much about the downloads. You're likely not going to be going out for sponsorships, right? You're not trying to sell people t-shirts as they listen, right? So go ahead and don't worry about that, because your podcast is going to be helping your business's actual bottom line. You're going to be deploying it for relationships. You're going to be deploying it for content, all in ways that support your business's brand, your marketing, to help get more business, better business from the right people who get to know you, because your content, your podcast, your clips from the podcast are doing that relational work while you work, while you sleep, because you've batched it, you've put it out there, and now people get to know you, get to know how you operate, and now they want to work with you. This has been Rooster High Radio. Make sure to give a follow if you want to hear more content like this, and we've got more at the website, roosterhigh.com. Again, I am Zach Armstrong. You can reach out to me if you've got questions about any of this kind of stuff. So, thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time.